This podcast contains strong language and discussions about relationships, sex, and love. It may not be suitable for younger listeners. This is the Sex and Singapore City podcast, and I am Nick Selena. Hi guys, welcome back to my podcast. Yo, how are we all doing on this Monday evening? It's been a while since I've done a little cheeky story time. So this one is something I completely even forgot that someone brought it up and I was like, oh yeah, shit, that did happen to me. So this one is called I went on a romantic weekend to Paris and got tear-gassed in the face by the police. So, yeah, only me. I just feel like shit happens to me and I'm not looking for it. So, yes, this is what went down. There was a guy from my university who I was like, we were probably more than friends, but just friends, but definitely there was definitely chemistry there. And we spent a lot of time together. And I was working in a magazine in London at the time. And he was like, hey, random, let's go to Paris for the weekend. And I was like, random, yes, fucking yes. FYI, Paris is always a good idea. Okay, well, unless you get tear-gassed, then it's the worst idea. So me and this guy, we go for a 3-day, 2-night break in the city. This is not my first time in Paris at all. But he was such a gent. I remember when we got a cab from the station, he didn't tell me which hotel we're staying in. And he made me cover my eyes and was like, it's a surprise. You can't see in the cab ride. And basically pulled up at this beautiful hotel near the Champs-Élysées. It was so special. Because he was a club owner and a DJ, his time clock was super different from mine, right? So he was on a night shift while I was on the day shift. So when the first day we woke up and we had breakfast or whatever, and he's like, look, I really have to go back to bed. So I was like, no, it's cool. I'm going to go and do my tourist thing, I've used the metro before. I'm all good. And I felt very, Sex and Paris City, I'm going to put my little beret on. It's such a cliche, isn't it? Go and see all the sights. So I went off on myself. I left him in bed asleep. And I went to the Notre Dame, I went to the Eiffel Tower, and I had lunch by myself, and I just did all of these hot spots and cool shit. I went down the Champs by myself, Arc de Triomphe, took all these photos and whatever. Literally, I live in my best life. So he's like, let's meet up about 3 p.m. So we meet up at the Montparnasse. FYI, anyone French listening, sorry for crucifying your language. I'm so sorry. I'm not a language girl. So the Montparnasse Tower is a super, super, super high tower in the city where you can see a 360-degree panoramic view of the whole of Paris. It's fucking stunning. So he met me there after he'd slept all day for a coffee, and then he was like, right, I want to go to the Louvre. So I was like, okay, fine. I am well equipped with the metro. I can sort this out. And then we were looking out of the windows of obviously this Montparnasse Tower, and he was like, oh, look down there. There's loads of heavy duty police. And there was it was riot police. So there was a shit ton of in rows, police, all geared up. They had the batons, the helmets and whatnot. Obviously we were really far up, but you can tell that they weren't just, the average policeman in a hat down the street. So I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. Anyway, so let's go to the metro. He's like, no, I want to walk there. Famous last words. I want to walk to the Louvre. So we looked at a map. He's like, it's totally walkable. And I was like, yeah, okay, fine. We can do some more sightseeing. I'd had a coffee. It was super chill. So we go down from the tower and we start walking to the Louvre. And there is this street that's been cornered off. All the restaurants and bars and whatnot and shops were shut. And there was this protest. Well, I think it was a peaceful march, if I'm totally honest. So these guys were all walking down the street. There's loads of people with their banners and obviously like talking in a language I don't really know what's going on. So I was just looking around like, oh, okay, hey. But because they were walking down the middle of the street and all the pavement was cornered off, all of the pedestrians, we were kind of like caught, like herded into pavements, okay? So it was very, very busy and kind of people everywhere. He's just up the road from me. So it's a little bit of a hill. We were kind of pushing our way through the crowds, trying to get to the Louvre. The march is going down the road, and sporadically there are these very, very heavy clad French police in bulletproof vests, all in black. They had batons, they had all this jazz. And then the next thing you know, it's not funny. Like, I always laugh through my stories and my podcasts. Like, lol, heartbreak. Lol, someone stole my dress at a sex party. Lol, my ex cut my toe off. It's not funny, but, you know, it's all I've got. Humor is my thing. So he goes, oh, look, there's a balaclava guy running past. And he went, there's loads of them. He's up the road. These guys rush past him. I'm a bit down the road and it's slightly on a hill, right? So I'm lower down. Then they rush past me. They're all in black. They've all got balaclavas. You can't see their face. They're running through the crowd bit. They're not in the protest in the middle of the street. They're on the pavement with the crowd, the pedestrians, us. So then they push past me. I turn around to see what's going on. I feel like any normal human would do that. The next thing you know, these fucking heavy-clad French police come out of, like, I say come out of nowhere. They were standing stoic, just surrounding the march, and suddenly they're on the pavement in a group and tear-gassing the fucking crowd. So these balaclava men, I don't know, I still don't know who the fuck they were, what was going on. Obviously, we're getting tear-gassed. But in the process, so were we. So I happened to turn around right at the fucking right time, or wrong time, and they sprayed it at this balaclava guy right into his face, which happened to be right into my face. Oh my God, the mental anguish and panic that happened next, it was like a scene out of a movie. Everyone is screaming. I can't see anything. So I can hear kids crying and screaming. It's like pandemonium. And I can't see this guy where he is. He's just up the hill trying to come back and get me. So he's walking back into tear gas to try and come and get me. I'm trying to get up the hill, but I can't see anything. I can't breathe. I can't fucking see. My face is on fire. And I didn't even have enough time to register who sprayed the tear gas. So I had no idea what it was. And all I know is my face is on fire. So I thought that, like, the balaclava guys have gone into this crowd knowing there's a crowd of pedestrians and sprayed something really fucking lethal. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see. My face was like on fire. I was so scared. And everyone is screaming. So imagine you can't see anything because your eyes are in so much pain. It feels like your eyeballs are burning. And by the way, I'm sure there's lots of army people who have like tear gas training and they're listening to this like, bitch, you need to grow a fucking pair. Okay, maybe I do. Maybe you love a weekly tear gas in the face. I fucking don't. It was my first rodeo. I certainly don't want it ever again. It was awful. So I'm pretty sure I knocked over a couple of kids and like I can't really, it was such a haze, literally. And I managed to get up the hill a little bit and he'd come back to get me. So he grabs my hand and he starts pulling me up. And it just screams everywhere. And I just say, I'm like, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And all the restaurants and bars and shops are shut. They're closed because of this march or this protest. So we're like trying to bang on doors. We can't see anything. So we the first thing we did was basically run up the hill and just carry on bashing on restaurant doors and stuff. And eventually someone let us in. and we went to the bathroom and he was like, right, splash water on your face. So I'm there like trying to like breathe and see, just splashing all this water on my face. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm not wrong, that water is the worst thing to put on tear gas. I think it like reacts with it. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. For those who've been tear gassed like me. So my face was then like reignited on fire. I've just never honestly felt pain like this. And it's not even like the pain, it was the fear. I don't know what it was. And I was like, there's a chemical in my throat. There's a chemical in my eyes. I'm in a foreign country. I can't understand what everyone's screaming. The whole crowd is screaming. It was awful, awful, awful. So we eventually find a quiet spot. I'm like super hyperventilating by this point. He's on the phone to his brother, trying to find out what the fuck it was going on, like trying to get them to help us. Like, what do you do if you've been tear gassed, or, you know, like what was it, or what is the march? And the brother basically was really damn helpful and jumped straight onto the internet. So thank you for that. And then we went back to the hotel room, obviously, got a cab back. It did not make it to the Louvre at all. And then I just basically, like, I remember sitting in a bath, like, feeling really sorry for myself. My face was like a beetroot red and my body was white. And he was like, are you okay in there? I was like, yeah. We went out for dinner that night, trooper that I am, and I couldn't put any makeup on or anything because my face was on fire. It was bright fucking red. So when we went out for dinner, he was just making jokes about like how sitting opposite me is putting him off his food. I can't blame him. It was awful. Yeah. And then the following, I think we had 2 more days to recover. But basically by this point, I just wanted to go home. I was absolutely terrified of being there. It completely ruined the whole weekend, the whole experience. I know that he tried really hard to make it like super romantic, you know, like what we were trying to surprise me with the Champs Hotel and all that jazz. And yeah, the French police tear gassing me in the face basically destroyed all romance and made me look like a beetroot the whole weekend. And that's the story of how I got tear gassed by the police in Paris. Thanks for listening to the Sex and Singapore City podcast. This episode was produced and hosted by me, Nick Selena, and recorded at the Splicecast studio in Singapore. I'm available to listen to on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, and all major podcast listening apps. Do subscribe to enjoy a new episode every Monday evening. Please do give me a 5-star review. It helps other people also find my podcast. For more awesome content and features to read, you can check out my website, sexandsingaporecity.com. That's sexandsingaporecity.com. I'm also on social media. Simply search at Nixalina, Nixalina, to find me. Don't be shy. Come say hi.